The girl with the sky in her eyes. The sun cracked open over Bancholo like an overripe mango, bleeding light onto rusted zinc rooftops and smoky alleyways. The city hummed to life before most had even rubbed sleep from their eyes. Somewhere in the chorus of car horns, market hawkers, and generator rumbles, a pair of blue eyes blinked awake beneath a faded piece of tarpaulin. Zina Obi sat up slowly on the wooden pallet she called a bed. Her limbs ached from the chill of the concrete below. The scent of roasting maize, car fumes, and yesterday's rain lingered in the air like an unwelcome ghost. She stretched her bony arms and yawned, careful not to knock over the black nylon bag that held everything she owned, 2 threadbare dresses, a cracked plastic comb, and an old photo of her grandmother, smiling, regal, the same impossible blue eyes staring back. Vendors nearby were already shouting, their voices slicing through the early morning calm like blades. Fresh oranges. 3 for 50 naira. Buy your akara here, hot. Recharge card. Airtime for MTN, Glo, Airtel. Zina tied her scarf with practice speed, her stomach growling like an insult. She had exactly 15 naira left, enough for a sachet of water, but not even close to a piece of bread. She stood and wiped imaginary dust from her knees, her gaze rising to the skyline where corporate glass towers stabbed at the sky. Bancholo, the city that glittered on one side and groaned on the other. She was born in the groaning part. Zina had lived many lives in her 16 years. The fire that took her parents also took the family kiosk where they sold plantains and palm oil. The flames came without warning, devouring wood, cloth, and hope in minutes. Her mother died trying to save a customer's baby. Her father never made it out from the back room. Zina had been at school when it happened. When she returned, there was nothing left but ash and silence. An uncle promised to take her in. That promise lasted 2 weeks. You eat too much, he grumbled one night. You cry too loud. The next morning, she found her things outside his door, already wet from the rain. That was 2 years ago. Zina navigated the narrow back lanes of Bancholo's central market like a ghost in daylight. She smiled politely at store owners, avoided eye contact with the touts, and kept her chin down when men stared too long. Everyone knew her, not by name, but by those eyes. Sky Girl, old Mama Ioka called her, tossing her a bruised mango. The girl with the sky in her eyes. Don't let those eyes fool you, a butcher once muttered. She's cursed or something. Nobody poor has eyes like that. Zina didn't care much what they said. Gossip was free. She was more concerned with finding a job or at least some leftover food. She had worked before, cleaning kiosks, washing pots, handing out flyers, but the jobs came and went like mirages. These days, people wanted you to have certificates to even sweep. Still, she tried. At a fruit stall, she offered to help arrange apples. Come back tomorrow, the owner muttered, not even looking up. At a pepper vendor's table, she offered to carry bags to customers' cars. Who said I trust you? The woman snapped, her eyes hard. Each rejection stung a little more, but Zina held her chin high. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her heart like a prayer, you don't need to lie to shine. Your truth is your strength. It was around noon when the clouds gathered, thick, angry, and dark as charcoal. A clap of thunder cracked the sky like an accusation, sending vendors scrambling to cover their goods. Zina ran too, ducking under the edge of a food stall already shuttered for the day. She wrapped her arms around herself and watched as the rain fell in furious sheets, drenching the streets, washing away the grime of yesterday but leaving behind its bitterness. And then she saw it. Half hidden beneath a stack of crates, just beyond the edge of the shelter, was something dark and rectangular. It had the unmistakable look of luxury, a smooth, expensive leather, the kind only rich people carried. Her heart kicked. She waited, glancing around. No one seemed to have dropped anything. No one was looking. She crept forward and snatched it quickly like it might vanish if she hesitated. Back under the cover, she opened it with trembling fingers. Her breath caught. Money. So much money. Neat, crisp $100 bills lined the wallet like soldiers on parade. Not naira. Dollars. Real ones. She counted 30 $100 bills. Her mind began spinning. $100 bills. At the parallel rate. Over 4 million naira. More than she had ever seen in her life. More than she thought anyone could hold in a wallet. And that wasn't all. Tucked into one flap was a gold-plated business card. She lifted it carefully. Chieftain Wixer. Founder and CEO, WECTech Global Solutions. Building Africa's future today. Private line, plus 234 XXXXXX. Zina stared at the photo beside it. The man was older, maybe mid-50s. Sharp suit. Clean shave. His eyes were the kind that had never begged for anything. The kind that belonged to the world of skyscrapers and CEOs. She blinked. Then blinked again. The rain was still coming down, but inside her chest, a different storm was beginning to brew. Zina didn't move for a long time. Her fingers curled around the wallet like it might slip away. Her thoughts danced in wild circles. She could rent a room. A real room with a bed. She could buy clean clothes. She could enroll in school. She could even open a little shop like her mother had always dreamed. But it's not your money, a quiet voice said. So what? Said another. He won't even notice it's gone. Men like that lose wallets the way you lose buttons. Your grandmother didn't raise a thief. Your grandmother is gone. Zina shook her head, the voices fighting like angry birds inside her skull. The rain began to slow, dripping now like the last words of an argument. She stuffed the wallet deep into the inner lining of her dress, where it pressed cold against her ribs. It felt like carrying a secret, warm, heavy, and dangerous. She didn't sleep much that night. Every creak of the wind made her flinch. Every footstep in the dark sent her heart galloping. Not because she was afraid of being robbed, but because she was afraid of robbing herself, of the girl she'd always been. The girl her grandmother would have been proud of. The next morning, the clouds had cleared. The streets were steaming from yesterday's rain, and the city was once again alive with hunger, hustle, and hope. Zina stepped onto the street, her jaw tight, her feet blistered, her mind made up. She would return the wallet. Consequences be damned. The only problem. Chieftain Wixer lived in Sunrise Heights Estate, a gated paradise on the other side of the city, a place where girls like her weren't even allowed to look at the gates for too long. No money. No phone. No allies. Just determination. And a wallet full of temptation. The test of shadows. Zina Obi didn't know much about miracles, but she was certain of one thing, returning that wallet might just be the hardest thing she'd ever do. The morning sun rose thick and golden over Bancholo, melting last night's rain into steaming puddles. The streets were already pulsing with life, horns honking, downfalls screeching, market women yelling prices like war cries. Somewhere in that chaos, Zina stood at the edge of a decision that could change everything. The wallet pressed against her chest beneath her dress like a secret tattoo. Every step she took echoed with possibilities, rooms with beds, 3 meals a day, shoes without holes. For a girl who'd spent the last 2 years dodging hunger and insults, the temptation whispered louder than the traffic. Still, her grandmother's voice trailed her like a shadow. The sun doesn't rise for thieves, Zina. Not even the clever ones. She tried to ask a passing Kiki driver for a free ride. He laughed. What you need is a sugar daddy, not a lift. At the bus stop near Old Ferry Road, she stood in line with commuters in suits and students in pressed uniforms, looking painfully out of place. Her faded blue skirt clung to her knees, still damp. Her sandals slapped against the pavement like they were trying to run away without her. CMS to Beverly Hills Estate, she asked the conductor of a rusting danfo. 2,000 naira, he shouted over blaring Afrobeat. She had 20. Can I pay later? It's an emergency. Then call 911, the conductor cut in, slamming the door shut before the bus roared off. She stood there for a moment, fist clenched, heart aching. If this city had a heart, it beat only for those with money. Later that day, she found herself under the shade of a broken billboard, legs trembling, stomach tighter than a drum. That's when he appeared. Real. He had a grin that looked carved from mischief and muscles that strained against the sleeveless hoodie. His braids were neat, his sneakers cleaner than should be legally allowed on these streets. Sky girl, he said, eyeing her with curious amusement. You look like someone who just saw her own funeral. Zina didn't reply. He crouched beside her, offered a meat pie wrapped in newspaper. Her stomach betrayed her with an audible growl. Eat, he said. I'm not a monster. Just a guy who hates to see beauty suffer. She hesitated. Then took it. Hunger sometimes outran caution. He watched her eat with the easy patience of someone who had nowhere urgent to be. You know, he said slowly, I've seen you around. Always so serious. Always alone. But a girl like you. You could rule this city with the right people behind you. And who are the right people? She asked, wiping crumbs from her lips. People who don't wait for luck, he said with a wink. People who make their own. He didn't need to say it aloud. Zina knew his kind, smart, dangerous boys who made a living off stolen phones and sweet talk. But his words still wrapped around her mind like smoke. That night, she slept behind a shuttered fish stall. The wallet was still there, still heavy, still unspent. In her dream, her grandmother sat beside her, shelling groundnuts in her lap. You know what's right, her grandmother said, without looking up. But right is not always easy. Zina woke up with tears dried on her cheeks and grime stuck to her palms. Her decision, once again, was made. She was going to return the wallet. Even if it broke her. But Bancholo had other plans. By noon, she'd been shoved out of 2 buses, accused of begging by a uniformed officer, and nearly pickpocketed near Board Market. I just want to get to Beverly Hills Estate, she said desperately to a young woman selling chin-chin. The woman looked her up and down, then laughed. That's not a place. That's a planet. Eventually, an old mechanic with a kind face let her ride on the back of his motorcycle halfway across the city, for free. God bless you, Zina whispered as the wind slapped her cheeks. Just make it count, the man said, already speeding off. When she finally reached the edge of Beverly Hills Estate, the change was immediate and dizzying. The potholes disappeared. The air smelled like imported soap. The houses had gates taller than the buildings she used to sleep under. And at the very end of a wide, tree-lined street stood the estate gate. It was guarded by 2 security men in pressed uniforms, arms folded, brows hard. Zina approached slowly, her heart pounding like a talking drum. Excuse me, please, she said, voice trembling. I'm here to return something. For Chief Wixer. One guard stepped forward. His name tag said Adisa. His face was unreadable. You have an appointment. No, but... No entry without clearance. Turn around. She reached into her dress and pulled out the wallet. The moment it appeared, Adisa stiffened. The second guard raised an eyebrow. This belongs to him, she said. I found it yesterday. I came all this way to return it. There was a long silence. Then Adisa snorted. Girl like you. Returning a billionaire's wallet. Don't insult my intelligence. I'm not. I've seen this before, he said coldly. Thieves with drama stories. You probably took the money out already. I didn't. Zina protested, her hands shaking. Check it. It's all there. But they weren't listening. One of them picked up his radio, muttered something, and laughed under his breath. People like you don't return wallets, Adisa said flatly. You steal them. Zina stood frozen. Rain began to fall again, soft at first. Then heavier. But she didn't move. She stood in the rain with the wallet in her hands and her hat somewhere near her shoes. She had climbed every mountain inside herself to get here. And at the final door, she was told she didn't belong. She thought of Rail. Of how easy it would be to turn back. To sell the wallet. To vanish. But something inside her stood taller than the guard's judgment. I'm not leaving, she said, her voice steady now. You can keep me out, but I'm not a thief. And one way or another, I will return this. The gatekeeper's gamble. The rain had stopped hours ago, but Zina still stood at the gate like a raindrop stubbornly clinging to the edge of a leaf. Cold, exhausted, and soaked through, she clutched the wallet tighter, less like it was currency, more like it was identity. Proof that, despite every rejection, she still had honor. But no one cared. The guards had returned to their booth, sipping tea and muttering. Occasionally, one would glance out at her like she was a pothole in an otherwise perfect road. And just when she began to turn away, heart cracking, hope trailing behind her like a busted sandal, she heard a voice. Elegant. Calm. Firm. Excuse me, young lady. What's your name? Zina turned. A woman in her 60s stood on the opposite side of the gate, behind the security line. She was dressed in a flowing Ankara wrapper and wore glasses with thin gold rims. Her skin was the color of roasted almonds, and her silver-streaked hair was tied in a graceful scarf. Zizina, she stammered. The woman raised an eyebrow. And why are you trying to see Chief Wixer? Zina held out the wallet like a soldier surrendering a weapon. I found this. It belongs to him. I've come to return it. The woman took a step forward. Let me see it. The guard stared. Mrs. Afolabi, please, this girl. Adisa, she interrupted, sharp as a whip. Unless your name is Truth Detector, stay out of it. Adisa shut up immediately. Zina blinked. Mrs. Afolabi stepped through the gate and held out her hand. Zina placed the wallet into her palm. She opened it, examined the contents, then glanced at Zina with a look that was equal parts curiosity and concern. Follow me, she said. Mrs. Kemi Afolabi lived in a modest bungalow just inside the estate, still far fancier than anything Zina had seen up close. The garden was trimmed, the house painted a cheerful color. Wind chimes danced above the door like musical butterflies. Sit, she said once they were inside, motioning toward a cushioned chair. Zina perched on the edge, afraid to touch anything. Mrs. Afolabi poured her a glass of zobo and brought her buttered bread on a china plate. Zina's hands shook as she ate, the food tasting both foreign and familiar, like a memory long buried. So, Mrs. Afolabi said, watching her, you walked all the way from the mainland to return this. Yes, ma'am. Why? Because, it's not mine. The woman studied her a moment longer, then nodded as if answering a question in her own head. I believe you, she said. Zina nearly dropped the glass. You do? My dear, I've taught students for 35 years. I can smell a lie before breakfast. You don't stink. Over the next few minutes, Zina shared her story, edited but honest. The streets, the hunger, the fire that took her parents. Her dreams of finishing school. Her grandmother's voice. Mrs. Afolabi listened without interrupting. Finally, she leaned forward. I'm Chief Wixer's neighbor. I'll take you to him personally. But I need a favor first. Zina stiffened. What kind? Stay with me. 2 nights. help me at my community school. I teach children from poor homes in the evenings. Many are like you. You'll be safe here. Fedra rested. Zina hesitated. It felt so kind. Too easy. She looked at the woman suspiciously. Why would you help me? Mrs. Afolabi smiled. Because I believe in second chances. And because once, a girl like you helped me when I had nothing. Those 2 nights changed something in Zina. She helped clean chalkboards, organize books, and teach basic reading to a group of rowdy but curious children. One girl, Bola, clung to Zina like a little sister, following her around and asking questions like, "Did you always have sky eyes?" and "Are you a superhero?" Zina laughed more in those 2 days than she had in 2 years. She bathed properly, ate real meals, and for the first time in what felt like a century, slept in a real bed. Soft sheets. A fan. A door that locked. On the second evening, she stood in front of the bathroom mirror and gasped. She had forgotten what her face looked like when it wasn't smeared with dust and exhaustion. Her eyes still looked like the sky. But now, for the first time in a long while, so did her future. On the third morning, dressed in borrowed clothes and hope, Zina walked beside Mrs. Afolabi toward the mansion at the end of the street. Chieftain Wicks's house was less of a home and more of a statement. White stone walls. A lion statue at the gate. 2 fountains that served no real purpose except to say, "I have fountains and you don't." Mrs. Afolabi pressed the buzzer and smiled at Zina. "Ready?" Zina nodded, her heart pounding in her chest like a stampede. They were let in. The compound was lush, manicured, intimidating. 2 guards escorted them toward the front door. But just as they reached the steps, something shifted. Another set of guards, these in black suits and earpieces, stepped out from behind the columns. "Stop right there," one barked. "Hands up." Zina froze. "What is the meaning of this?" Mrs. Afolabi demanded. One of the men stepped forward. "Ma'am, we have intelligence that this girl may be connected to a ransom threat made against the chief." Zina's mouth dropped open. "What?" "No, I came to return his." "Where's the wallet?" another officer snapped. Zina reached into her bag. It was gone. She fumbled, panicking. She turned the bag upside down. Just a comb. A wrapper. A paper with Bola's doodles. No. No, 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 it was here. I swear it was here. Mrs. Afolabi's brows furrowed, her body going rigid. The lead guard spoke into his radio. "Confirmed. Suspect on site. Missing item not found." "I'm not a thief." Zina shouted, eyes welling up. "Please, I didn't steal anything. I had it, I swear I." "Ma'am," the guard said to Mrs. Afolabi, "we'll need you to step aside. We are taking the girl in for questioning." Zina's knees buckled. This couldn't be happening. Not now. Not after everything. Storm at the mansion. The moment the guards laid hands on her, Zina's legs gave out. She crumpled to her knees on the tiled steps of Chief Wicks's mansion, arms trembling, eyes wild. "I didn't take it," she gasped. "Please. Please, I had it. I swear I did." "Enough," barked the lead guard, already reaching for handcuffs. "We've heard every version of this scam. Wait, stop this madness." Mrs. Afolabi stepped forward, outraged. She came to return the wallet, not steal it. "And where is the wallet now, madam?" the man snapped. Zina looked to Kemi, pleading. "It was in my bag, this morning. I packed it myself." I don't understand." Mrs. Afolabi looked shaken but stood her ground. "This girl has done nothing but help and learn and sleep under my roof. I vouch for her." "Noted," the guard said, unconvinced. She still needs to be questioned. Behind them, the grand front doors creaked open. All heads turned. Out stepped Chief Ton Wixer. He was tall, with a presence that didn't so much enter a room as rearrange it. Clean-shaven, salt and pepper hair trimmed to precision, he wore a navy blue buba with quiet elegance. His eyes were sharp, used to boardrooms and billionaire decisions. "What's the commotion?" he asked, voice like thunder under silk. The guard stiffened. "Sir, we have the girl in custody. The one involved in the wallet incident. She doesn't have it on her." Wixer's eyes shifted to Zina. Not with anger. Not yet. With calculation. "You're the girl who walked here from the mainland?" he asked. Zina nodded slowly, wiping her eyes. "Yes, sir. I found your wallet 2 days ago. I kept it safe. I brought it to return to you. It was with me this morning, I swear." "And now it's missing?" he asked. She nodded again, voice breaking. "Yes. I don't know how or when. But I didn't take anything, sir. I never even counted it twice. I just wanted to do the right thing." The guards tightened around her. But Wixer raised a hand. "Hold." He studied her like a man weighing an unpredictable stock. Then turned to Mrs. Afolabi. "Kemi. You brought her." "Yes. And I believe her." A long pause. "Bring her inside," Wixer said. But gently. The interior of the mansion was everything Zina had imagined and more. Marble floors that could reflect the ceiling. Gold accents. A staircase that looked like it led to the heavens. She sat, trembling, on the edge of a pristine couch in a room that smelled like vanilla and power. Chief Wixer paced slowly in front of her. "You understand how this looks," he said at last. "Yes," Zina said quietly. "But please believe me, I didn't steal it." Wixer tilted his head. "You could have vanished with that money. Bought a fake name. Open a shop. No one would have found you. Why risk coming here?" She looked up at him, tears threatening again. "Because my grandmother told me that anything built on stolen ground will crumble. And because..." Her voice cracked. "I didn't want to be like the people who threw me away." Wixer paused. He sat across from her now, expression unreadable. "Tell me everything." So she did. Not just the wallet, but her life. The fire. The uncle. The streets. Rail. The walk. The rejections. The rain. The school. Mrs. Afolabi. The mirror. She didn't embellish. She didn't beg. And she didn't once blame anyone else. When she finished, there was silence. Chief Wixer tapped a finger on the armrest. Then said, "You say you had the wallet this morning?" "Yes." "Where did you keep it?" "In my bag. The red one. Inside a book." He called in a staff member. "Get the house manager and tell them to pull CCTV footage from Mrs. Afolabi's house, including the front gate. Start from yesterday morning." The guard hesitated. "Sir, that house isn't part of the estate surveillance net." "It is now," Wixer said. "I pay for the overflow security grid. There's coverage." Zina blinked. She hadn't realized she'd ever want cameras following her. Wixer stood. "You stay here until we figure this out. Don't run. Don't lie. And don't insult my intelligence." "Yes, sir," Zina whispered. An hour passed. Then another. Zina waited, nerves jangling like loose change in her chest. Then a man in a black shirt came in, holding a tablet. "Sir. We found something." They gathered around. The footage showed the front of Mrs. Afolabi's house. The previous night. Around 2:37 a.m. A figure appeared on the edge of the screen, its slim, hoodie up, creeping toward the window. "Pause," Wixa said. Zina leaned forward, eyes wide. It was real. Clear as day. He slipped inside through a loose shutter. Minutes later, he emerged with something tucked under his hoodie, a red cloth bag. Zina gasped. "That's mine." Wixa didn't smile. But he nodded. "File a report. Get this to the authorities. And inform the guards that this girl," he gestured towards Zina, "is a guest. Not a suspect." Zina sank into the couch, relief flooding her bones. She wasn't sure if she wanted to cry or sleep for a year. Later that evening, as the sun cast long golden stripes across the tiled veranda, Chief Wixa invited her to sit beside him. "I built my company from nothing," he said. "Sold phone cards on the street. Slept in kiosks." Zina stared. "You did. I know what it means to be overlooked. To be doubted. To have nothing but a name and a dream." He looked at her directly. "You didn't just return money, Zina. You returned something I'd lost a long time ago, my faith in people." He stood and extended a hand. "How would you like a proper home, school, and a future?" Zina didn't speak. She couldn't. Her throat was too full of disbelief. So she stood, took his hand, and nodded, sky eyes shining with something new. When the sky opened. The first time Zina stepped into her new apartment, she half expected someone to tell her it was a mistake. It wasn't fancy, just a small, sunlit room on the second floor of a community building funded by the Wixa Youth Trust, but to her, it was a palace. A bed with real sheets. A desk by the window. A tiny fridge. A lock she owned. She ran her fingers along the smooth wall like it might vanish if she blinked too long. Chief Wixa had kept his word. She was now officially enrolled in Starlight Academy, one of Bancholo's top secondary schools. Uniforms tailored. Books paid for. Her ID card had her name on it, not as a charity case, but as a student. Mrs. Kemi visited every weekend with lesson snacks and big opinions on politics. She would pinch Zina's cheek and say, "There's my general. I told you, those sky eyes are meant for more than tears." Zina would only smile and blush, still not quite used to praise. But Zina didn't just study. She built. At first, it was informal. Just meeting a few younger girls at the market on Sundays, helping them read street signs, write their names. Then it grew. She started the Skyline Girls Club, the youth leadership initiative for girls from poor neighborhoods. They met under mango trees, in borrowed classrooms, on sidewalk corners. They talked about courage, confidence, consent, character. Zina taught them to speak like their voices deserved microphones. She brought in volunteer teachers, tailors, artists, even a lawyer who taught them their rights. Some of the same women who once ignored her now sent their daughters to the meetings. Some even came themselves. She didn't forget where she came from. But she was determined to change where others were going. 3 years later, at just 19, Zina stood backstage at the Future of Africa Youth Summit, heart racing as thousands of chairs filled in the auditorium. She wore a simple dress made from Ankara scraps, designed by a girl she'd mentored. Her braids were neat, her shoes borrowed, and her spirit unshakable. When the announcer called her name, the audience leaned forward. And Zina walked out like she belonged on every stage. She took a breath, looked out at the crowd, and smiled. "My name is Zina Obi," she began, voice strong, eyes bright. 3 years ago, I was sleeping under tarps, clutching my stomach because hunger was louder than hope. I had nothing, except my grandmother's voice telling me, "Don't lose your honesty, even if you lose everything else." She paused. "One day, I found a wallet. Enough money to change my life overnight. But instead of keeping it, I gave it back. The crowd murmured. And what happened next? I got more than money. I got a future. Applause rippled. I'm not here because I was rescued, she said. I'm here because I made one good decision, and that decision opened the sky. The room erupted. Cheers. Claps. Standing ovation. Somewhere in the crowd, Chief Wixer wiped his glasses. Next to him, Mrs. Kemi beamed like she'd just scored the winning goal in a football final. Zina stepped back from the mic, her head held high, eyes glistening. The girl with the sky in her eyes had finally learned how to fly. Sunrise the end.